Welcome everyone. This is another video lesson on business studies. We are going to start a new chapter on business studies, which is business environment. Now we all know what is environment, isn't it? Environment is our surrounding. Likewise, business also exists in an environment. So business environment in simple words can be termed as the surroundings in which the business exists. Now this is a simple meaning of business environment. But if we try to elaborate what do we mean by the surroundings where the business exists, the meaning and definition of business environment can be put as it refers to all those forces, factors, individuals and institutions which are outside the control of the business, but these factors or these forces may affect the performance of the business. So even though business has no complete control over these factors or these forces which are external to the business, but they have potential to affect the performance of the business. Like for example, if the tax rates are increased by government, then due to the increase in the tax rate, the cost of production will increase, and with high cost of production, the pricing of the goods will be kept high, and it will be leading to change in prices. And also if there is a change in the prices offered by the competitors, it may affect the business. So that is also an influence of business environment. Or if there's any political instability, if the government changes at the center, and that change in the government may lead to various changes in the business environment also, and it will have some impact on the business activities, or to say change in taste and preference of people. If people's taste changes or their preference changes towards certain commodities, then that also affects business environment or business. So this is also business environment, or any change in any law or any act is going to affect the business. So all these can be termed as the external factors or forces which are not directly under the control of business, but the impact of these will be on the performance of the business. So they are termed as business environment. So the concept of business environment is that a business cannot exist without the environment, because any environment which is external to the business will have some or the other impact on the working of the business organization. There are so many factors like economic factors, legal factors, social factors, political factors, technological environment, which are affecting the functioning of the business. It's not just in say one particular country, all around the world, all these factors exists, and these factors directly or indirectly, they are impacting the businesses. So a business has to keep always a track of these factors, and there is a need for the business to scan and examine these forces of environment completely to run the business smoothly. So this can be termed as environment scanning by the business. So environment scanning refers to the awareness and understanding of business environment. A business need to be aware about the business environment completely and understand its business environment. Because without scanning the business environment, and a business enterprise may not be able to anticipate its effect on the business. So once the environment scanning is done by a business, it will help the business to identify the constraints as well as the opportunities. Constraints means the hurdles, the hurdles or the challenges that it may pose to the business. On the other hand, it may also be able to identify what are the advantages or the opportunities that environment scanning of the external environment or the business environment will can have to the business. So constraints or threats refers to conditions which restricts the business activities, whereas opportunities refers to the conditions which will help the business to grow and expand, or which will support the business activities positively. So this is the concept of business environment. We now move on to discuss the features or nature of business environment. So the first feature of business environment is it is a totality of external forces. Like in the definition of business environment, it's mentioned that business environment refers to all the forces which are external to the business. So it is all those external forces or institutions or individuals to the business organization which are external. They are all external. So remember that the internal factors will not be considered as business environment, only the external forces. Again, these external forces of business environment can be classified into two forces: specific forces and general forces. That is the second feature of business environment. The forces of business environment may be specific forces or general forces. Now what are these? Specific forces means those external forces which will which affect the business directly, or with which the business are working immediately, which is like in their daily business operations or in their regular business operations, they are directly like affected by these specific forces. It can be called as suppliers, investors, customers. These are the specific forces. Whereas the general forces will be like social environment, political environment, legal environment, or technological changes. All these are general forces. That means which are general or which are common. Whereas specific forces will be depending on the business relations with its like various external parties, like who the suppliers are, or who are the investors, or who the customers are actually. The third feature of business environment is its interrelation. Remember that it's no business environment factor, be it specific or general forces, are specific to itself. All these factors or forces which forms a part of business environment are interrelated to each other. Like if there is a cultural influence from some other country, then the youth in that country may be influenced by the influence of the culture, and that influence, maybe in the form of fashion, may lead to new brands of clothes, which are a part of the culture from that other country. There may be a market which will flourish in, say, India, by the influence of the Western culture or the brand culture. So this exhibits the interrelatedness of the various forces and factors which forms the business environment. The next feature of business environment is that it is dynamic in nature. Business environment is dynamic. That means it keeps on changing. It keeps on changing. There is like, it's not that it will be same all the time. It is highly flexible also, and it keeps changing. It's never static. So that is why business scanning is so important, or environment scanning is so important for a business, because of the dynamic nature of business environment. The next feature is uncertainty. There's always uncertainty in business environment. Like it is dynamic, so it's also uncertain and unpredictable. So these changes are very difficult to predict. And there is complexity in the business environment. The business environment are difficult to understand. It can be understood easily in parts, but if you will try to study it as a whole, that may be not so easy. It will be difficult for the business to understand the totality effect of the business environment factors. Like sometimes the changes may seem to be very minor. It may not seem to be very something which may have a big influence on the business, but ultimately that may lead to a big impact. So there is always a mystery or a complexity about the uh, level of impact a business environment or a external environment factor may have on the business activities. And another feature of business environment is relativity. Okay. Like business environment may differ from country to country or region to region. Okay, because the political environment, the social culture, or the conditions in differ from country to country, isn't it? So there is a relativity in the business environment. Okay, so there is relativity as a feature of business environment, which means the business environment differ from country to country, region to region, as per the political conditions, culture, different in different countries. Okay. So the same condition has different impact on different businesses. So that is the meaning of relativity. Now let us discuss what are the importance of business environment. Why scanning business environment or business environment scanning is so important for a business. Okay. So the first point is identifying opportunities and give first mover advantage. Okay. So when the businessmen, they are able to understand and scan the opportunities of business at an early stage, then they may get the maximum benefit, because if they have come across a factor which may threat the business and they have taken corrective action of that threat by taking various decisions, or if there is some advantage of something new technology, a new technology has come using which the cost of production may be reduced, and if the business has adapted to that technology as a first mover, so he may have the first mover advantage, or he can capture a big share in the market and they will get a benefit over their competitors. Okay. The second advantage or importance of business environment is that it identifies threats and give warning signals. So when the business is doing environment scanning or it's scanning the business environment, it will be able to identify the threats, okay, the constraints of the business environment, and also it may be able to see what are the warning signals to the business, okay, what are the negative policies which may impact the business environment, and timely, if they are scanning, then the business may use these information or the threat and can take corrective measures, and changes can be made on time, and the impact of such threats or warning signals can be made minimized. Business environment also helps to the business to tap its useful resources. So businessmen, they have to supply the goods market according to the demand in the market. To supply output, they need input, isn't it? And raw material also. So they can acquire the raw materials and other resources keeping in mind the output demand of the environment. And to select the resources which they require, they have to know the availability of those in the environment. So they will be knowing the availability of this resource in the environment once they scan the environment, or they make a survey of the environment, or they make a complete analysis of the environment. So it also helps them in tapping the useful resources. A business enterprise, they collect all the resources in the form of raw materials, power, labor, machines. Then the organization, they have to make policies so that it can get the resources that it need to convert into output desired by environment, and this can be done only when the business understand what the environment has to offer. Also, it helps the organization or the business to cope with the rapid changes, whatever changes or which are taking place outside the business, which are very fast and which have a great impact on the business. Okay, it may be able to detect these changes, and taking the corrective actions, it may be able to adapt with the rapid changes that are happening in the external environment. And then business environment also helps business in planning and policy making. The planning of the business depends on the study of the business environment, and the various policies that it will formulate as a result of business scanning depends upon the business environment. And finally, it leads to improvement in the performance of the business. With continuous scan of business environment, companies can easily improve their performance. And when they make changes in their internal environment, it will improve the performance of the business, and the organization can prosper and have a better share in the market.